Welcome to the Great Outdoors here on Connemara Community Radio 87.8 and 106.1 FM. Now, I suppose we all like to go for a bit of a walk every now and then, and some of us don't mind doing a little bit more longer walks than others, but I'd say not many of us are going to go off and do huge long walks with a rather heavy backpack. And the next guest on the programme, a solo trekker, is going to tell us about that, Paul Sheils. Paul, you're very welcome to us here on Connemara Community Radio.
Hello, Breandan. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Not at all, Paul. Paul, just tell me a little bit about your background and your kind of interest in solo walking in particular.
Yeah, well, ever since a very young age, I've always been interested in the old movies of the men heading up the Yukon River searching for gold, or I've read books about people hiking to the South and North Poles, and I've always wanted to have my own true wilderness experience. And I started off a few years ago hill walking all around Ireland, Connemara and among other places too. And eventually I went to Scotland to do long hikes in Scotland, 100 kilometres here, 200 kilometres the next year, 300 kilometres. This brought me up to other places, up into very vast wilderness areas above the Arctic Circle in Lapland. One particular trip I hiked 500 kilometres across the interior wilderness of Iceland. It's all just born from a love of the great outdoors, a love of wildlife and natural scenery.
Yeah, so it's something that you've been developing over the last few years, but I mean, you're basically self-taught in every aspect of this. Yes,
yeah, well, I read a lot of books.
Okay.
I read a lot, I'm out on the ground a lot, gaining experience, and yeah, it's kind of like, I suppose you could say, an apprenticeship. You start off or doing little hikes. I used to start off in the Wicklow Mountains and the Mourne Mountains, and then I progressed to ranges that were more rugged, more remote maybe, like the likes of your own end of the country there in Connemara.
Uh-huh.
You know, so it's a progression. You're learning skills all the time. You're experiencing different extremes in weather all the time, and you're getting used to the weather, and you're beginning to feel more comfortable with the outdoors. And it just goes on from there. You end up doing more longer hikes, and I ended up then above the Arctic Circle from there, you know.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you're heading out somewhere like this, I presume you obviously can't bring in the line of food and all that with you. You have to kind of bring a certain amount, but I presume after that you're trying to live off the land, a bit Bear Grylls type idea, is it?
Well, I wouldn't be living off the land so much. That's a very difficult thing to do, especially if you're like me, if you're getting up early in the morning and packing up your pack, and you may have 20 or 30 kilometres to hike for the day. It doesn't give you much time to live off the land, but I do have an interest in picking wild berries along the way, maybe wild nuts, or I might make some herb teas, and sometimes in the evenings I might do a spot of fishing. But basically I live out of my backpack on high energy foods that I bring with me. And there is sometimes the hikes could be that long and there wouldn't be any resupply routes along the way. You're in the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
So, you'd like to bring a little bit more food than you can. There's only so much you can carry on your back. And I certainly have lost weight sometimes coming home.
Yeah. And I suppose, we're saying kind of finding your way around map reading and all that. Do you take maps, or do you use GPS, or how do you actually find your way around?
Well, with me it's all maps. It's topographical maps, and I use a compass, a handheld faceplate compass. I've never used GPS before. I'm kind of old school, and there's times you can navigate by nature also. You can navigate by the orientation of rivers to glaciers. You can navigate by the direction of the wind, the stars, and so on. And I find that's very interesting. It gives a different aspect to my hike.
Okay. And something like that you've obviously you've had to pick up as well and learn as you go along.
Oh, yes, you learn these as you go along. The map and compass, I basically learned all myself by just going out onto the ground and hiking across these wilderness areas. Starting led by small hikes, reading books.
Yeah.
That, you know.
Yeah. Now, I know that you're planning or hoping to go off across Lapland through Norway, Sweden and Finland. What's the plan for that one, or what are you hoping to do?
I don't have any hard plans for that yet. This is an idea brewing up in my head. I've been to Lapland on a number of occasions before, and I've hiked across different wilderness areas up there. I've been to wilderness areas in the very north of Sweden and Finland, and I've been along the Norwegian border. But I'd like to do a hike that would bring me through Lapland, through Norway, Sweden and Finland, all together on the trip.
Yeah, and is there a problem with say even things like having to go crossing countries? Do you need visas for all these kind of things? Have you to get all that organised beforehand?
In which way, say again, sorry?
Like if going into different countries, you need visas or kind of, obviously your passport you probably have to bring with you, but do you need extra things getting into places?
No, I think you mean on the hike itself.
Yeah.
Border. No, there's nothing at all. You're way up there in the wilderness. There's no borderline as such. It's all just open ground. There's nothing there. There's no fence, no road. The borderline itself will be just a river.
Uh-huh.
I just wade across a river and I'm into the next country then. There's nothing like that up there.
Okay.
Worries at that end of it.
All right. I suppose a lot of people would probably, when you hear about you going somewhere like this, to be worried about kind of wild animals and problems with that. Have you ever had any major, situations where there's been wild animals involved?
Well, there's wild animals around. In these places I'd go, there would be a European brown bear, there would be the occasional wolf, and there's lynx, that big European wild cat, and there's things like this, and there's very large moose. Now, I've often ran into the large moose from time to time, and you can get up quite close to them. But the problem is they can be very, very angry. So you wouldn't want to come too close. You might be tempted to stand there and take a few photographs of them. But these guys can get very angry. And some people might be thinking I should be talking about the bear or the wolf. But I think the moose is more dangerous. And yes, I've had some run-ins with them up there, but nothing very scary, nothing at all. So.
Okay, well that's good. That's good to know. I suppose you can have fairly bad experiences of animals, and there can be things like dogs and things like that without even being anywhere major. Never mind going up into to wild areas. Now, Paul, you're coming to Galway, I think, as well. Are you to talk at the Why Not Adventure Film Festival?
Yes, I was invited to talk at the Why Not Adventure Festival in Galway on the 10th of October, and there is still tickets for that. People can buy tickets for that online, or they can pay at the door if they want. So I would urge people to check out whynotadventurefilm.com, and all the details will be there for them. That's on the October.
Because it's a great film festival. I mean, I know it was in Clifton I think last year it was some of it, part of it, or all of it here in Clifton. And they're all short films full of adventure. I mean, there's a really great mixture of pieces for people to see and then to learn, I suppose, some of these adventure sports and activities. Yeah,
there is, of course. There'll be something there for everybody. And hopefully, the people that turn up, hopefully they'll be inspired to undertake their own little adventure, no matter how big or small it is.
Yeah, and as you say there, you start small. I mean, you started on the small tracks before you took off, and that's where really everybody has to do.
That's it, yeah. And I feel I was more safer doing that, because as I progressed and as I went into deeper wilderness areas, I always had that little bit of experience from the last place behind me. So you learn a little as you go along and take it easy, and you'll get there. You'll get done what you want to get done in the end.
Okay. Well, listen, Pat, it's great, Paul, it's great talking to you, and as I say, the very best of luck in your next adventures, wherever they'll take you. And as I say, I'm not sure that I'll be able to get into the film festival or not, but I hope people will go in and take part in that, because I think they could be very inspired, not just by you, but by those films as well. So thanks for being with us this evening.
Okay.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Bye. That's Paul Sheils there, who is a solo trekker and goes on these very interesting walks, 18 days, 20 days, going across through areas where there's nobody around at all. 500 kilometre walks, no problem, and as he said, hopefully 1,000 kilometres coming up in the next while. So if you are in Galway or in October, would like to go to see that film festival. It's a really, really great film festival. They've got short films. As I say, it was in Clifton last year. Simon at the Boat Club there put on a great show of it, and it was really, really interesting. As I say, there was a lot of different aspects to it, but if you are interested, look it up, the Why Not Adventure Film Festival in Galway, and you'll get information there. Now we're going to go to our ad break, and we'll be back with some music after that.